Han Sol rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the screen again. The night shift on the space station was always quiet. Most of the time, he just listened to empty space and wrote reports about nothing happening. But tonight felt different. The sound came through his headphones like a whisper. At first, he thought it was just space noise, but then he heard it again. It was not random. It had a pattern. Someone was trying to talk. Han Sol sat up straight in his chair. His hands moved quickly over the controls. He had been doing this job for 5 years, but he had never heard anything like this before. The signal was weak and far away. It was coming from outside their solar system. "Computer, clean up this signal," he said. The machine worked for a few minutes. Slowly, the noise got quieter and the voice got clearer. Han Sol's mouth dropped open. It was not a human voice. The words were strange, but his computer was starting to translate them. "Help us," the voice said. "Please, anyone who can hear this. We are dying. They are coming for us. The Devourers have taken 17 worlds. Our ships cannot stop them. They eat everything. They turn our cities into nothing." Han Sol's heart started beating faster. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child. First contact with aliens. But this was not how he had imagined it would be. The voice continued. "We know about the Deathworlders of Sol 3. We know you are dangerous. We know you are monsters. But please, we are desperate. Our children are dying. If you have any mercy in your hearts, help us. The Vellani people are begging you." The message repeated 3 more times, then stopped. Han Sol sat in silence for a moment. Deathworlders of Sol 3? Sol 3 was Earth. They were talking about humans, but they called humans monsters? Han Sol's fingers shook as he pressed the emergency button. Red lights started flashing all over the station. Within minutes, Captain Do Yun was running into the communication room. His hair was messy and he was still putting on his uniform. "What is it, Han Sol?" Do Yun asked. "Is there an attack?" "Sir, you need to hear this," Han Sol said. He played the message again. Do Yun listened with wide eyes. When the message finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a wolf makes when it sees dinner. "Call the senior staff," Do Yun said. "Wake everyone up. This changes everything." 20 minutes later, the station's meeting room was full. Tactical Officer Yunji was there, still drinking coffee and trying to wake up. Xenobiologist Ki Tai had brought his computer and was already trying to learn more about the alien language. Engineer Tae Min looked confused but excited. "Play it again," Do Yun said. Everyone listened to the alien message. When it finished, the room was very quiet. Finally, Yunji spoke. "They think we are monsters," she said. "They are afraid of us." "More than afraid," Kai Tae said, looking at his computer. "I have been studying their language patterns. The word they use for us translates to something like nightmare beings or death bringers. They are terrified of us." "But why?" Tae Min asked. "We have never met them before?" Kite pulled up some pictures on the big screen. "I think I know. Look at these star maps. The signals came from the Vellani system, about 40 light years away. If they have been watching us, they have seen our history, our wars, our weapons, our movies about war." "Our movies?" Do Yun asked. "Think about it," Kite said. "What if you were a peaceful alien species and you saw our entertainment? War movies, action films, stories about humans fighting monsters and winning? What if your species never had predators, never had wars, never had to fight for survival?" Yunji nodded slowly. "We would look like demons to them. Every human story is about fighting and winning against impossible odds. Every human hero is someone who can kill enemies and protect friends." "And they are asking these demons for help," Do Yun said. "They must be truly desperate." Han Sol spoke up from his communication station. "Sir, I am getting another message. This one is coming from Earth Command." The big screen changed to show Admiral Hae Jin. She was sitting in her office on Earth, but she looked like she had not slept. Behind her, Han Sol could see people running around and working at computers. "Captain Do Yun," the Admiral said, "I assume you have heard the alien distress call. We have been monitoring it for the past 30 minutes. This is the moment we have been preparing for our entire lives." Do-Yun stood up straight. Yes, ma'am. What are your orders? We are going to help them, Admiral Hyjin said. But first, we need to understand what we are dealing with. These devourers sound like a serious threat, and the aliens think we are monsters. This will not be easy. Ma'am, Yunji said, stepping forward. What if they are right? What if we are monsters compared to them? The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke with a serious voice. Officer Yunji, humans have been fighting for survival since we learned to walk. We fought wild animals. We fought disease. We fought each other. We fought nature itself. Every day on Earth was a battle to stay alive. She continued. Most alien species probably evolved on nice, safe worlds. They never had to develop weapons. They never had to learn tactics. They never had to become killers just to live another day. From their point of view, we are monsters. But we are not evil monsters, Do-Yun said. Exactly, Admiral Hyjin said. We are protective monsters. We are the kind of monsters that monsters are afraid of. And right now, some innocent people need monsters on their side. The room was quiet again. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Sir, Kite said, looking at his computer. I have been analyzing the message more. These devourers sound like they travel from world to world, eating everything. The Villani described them as unstoppable. But I think the Villani just do not know how to fight. What do you mean? Do-Yun asked. The message says their ships cannot stop the devourers. But they never mention tactics, or weapons, or strategy. I think they just tried to run away. They do not know about warfare like we do. Admiral Hyjin nodded. That makes sense. Captain Do-Yun, I am putting together the largest fleet in human history. 12 dreadnought ships, 40 cruiser ships, and 100 support ships. Every ship will be filled with volunteers. Volunteers? Taemin asked. We are not forcing anyone to go fight aliens in deep space, the Admiral said. But I think we will have more volunteers than we have ships. Humans do not like bullies, and these devourers sound like the biggest bullies in the galaxy. Do-Yun smiled. When do we leave? The fleet will be ready in 72 hours, Admiral Hyjin said. Captain, you and your team will be on the command ship. Commander Wu Jin will lead our marine forces. We are going to show the galaxy what Earth's children can do. After the Admiral ended the call, the team sat in silence for a few minutes. Finally, Han Sol spoke. Do you think we can really help them? He asked. Do-Yun looked around the room at his friends and crew members. These were good people, smart people, brave people. They were the kind of people who worked on space stations, far from home, listening for signals from the unknown. Han Sol, Do-Yun said, humans have been helping each other for thousands of years. We help strangers. We help people who are different from us. We even help people who are afraid of us. It is what we do, Yunji added. And if these devourers think they can bully innocent people, they are about to learn why the galaxy fears the Deathworlders of Sol 3. The team started working immediately. There was so much to do before the fleet left. They had to learn everything they could about the Villani people and the devourers. They had to prepare for a journey to another star system. Most importantly, they had to get ready for humanity's first war among the stars. Outside the space station, Earth looked peaceful and blue, but all across the planet, humans were preparing for battle. They were building ships, loading weapons, and saying goodbye to their families. The galaxy had asked the monsters for help. The monsters had answered yes. 3 days after leaving Earth, the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Villani system. What they saw made even the bravest soldiers quiet. Broken pieces of metal floated everywhere in space. These were once ships and space stations. Now they were just twisted wreckage drifting in the dark. Some pieces were still glowing red from heat. The battle here had been recent. Captain Do-Yun stood on the bridge of the command ship, looking at the destruction. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone felt the same thing. They were too late to stop this attack, but maybe not too late to help survivors. Sir, said Communications Officer Han Sol, I am picking up signals from small ships trying to escape the system. They are Villani refugee ships. How many? Do-Yun asked. Maybe 50 ships, sir. They are running away from the inner system as fast as they can. Tactical Officer Yunji checked her screens. Sir, I do not see any Devourer ships. I think they finished here and moved on to their next target. Doyun felt anger growing in his chest. The Devourers had come to this peaceful system, destroyed everything, and left. They treated intelligent life like food to be harvested. It made him sick. Hansol, try to contact one of the refugee ships. Use the translation program Kite built. Hansol worked at his station for a few minutes. Then he looked up with a worried face. Sir, I made contact, but as soon as they saw us on their screens, they stopped answering. I think they are too scared to talk. Kite, the xenobiologist, spoke up from his station. Captain, remember what they said in the distress message. They think we are monsters. They called for help, but now that we are here, they are terrified. Doyun thought for a moment. This was the problem they had expected. How do you help people who are afraid of you? Get me Admiral Haye-jin on Earth, he said. A few minutes later, the Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired, but determined. Captain, report, she said. Ma'am, the Devourers have been here already. The system is mostly destroyed, but we found refugee ships trying to escape. The problem is, they are too afraid of us to communicate. Admiral Haye-jin nodded. We expected this. Captain, I am sending you our best diplomatic officer. Commander Yun-Ah has been studying Villani culture since we received the distress call. She should reach you in 6 hours. What should we do until then? Doyun asked. Protect the refugees. Follow them at a safe distance. Make sure no Devourers come back to finish the job. But do not get too close. We do not want to scare them more than they already are. After the call ended, Doyun gave orders to his fleet. The human ships spread out to guard the refugee ships. They stayed far enough away not to frighten the aliens, but close enough to fight if the Devourers returned. 6 hours later, Commander Yun-Ah arrived on a fast courier ship. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a calm voice. She had spent her whole career helping people from different cultures understand each other. Captain, she said as she came onto the bridge, I have been studying everything we know about the Villani. They are a fascinating people, but very different from us. How different? Doyun asked. Their home world never had large predators, no big animals that hunt other animals. They evolved from small creatures that ate plants and hid from danger. Their whole society is built on avoiding conflict and sharing resources. Kitai looked up from his computer. That explains a lot, Captain. I have been analyzing the wreckage. The Villani ships had almost no weapons. Their idea of defense was to build thick walls and hide behind them. They never learned to fight back, Yunji said. When the Devourers came, they just tried to hide or run away. Commander Yuna nodded. Exactly. And then they heard stories about humans. To them, we are like living nightmares, creatures that not only fight, but seem to enjoy fighting. They probably expected us to be just as bad as the Devourers. So how do we talk to them? Doyun asked. Yuna smiled. Very carefully. I want to try something. Hansol, can you contact the largest refugee ship? Yes, ma'am. They are still not answering our calls, but I can send a message. Good. Send this message. We are humans from Earth. We received your distress call. We know you are afraid of us. We do not want to hurt you. We want to help you. We will stay far away until you are ready to talk. Hansol sent the message. Then they waited. For 2 hours there was no answer. Then finally, a response came back. The alien voice was shaking with fear. Deathworlders of Sol 3, why have you come? We asked for help, but we did not expect you to actually answer. What do you want from us? Yuna took the communication. When she spoke, her voice was gentle and calm. My name is Yun-Ah. I am a human, but I am not a soldier. I study different cultures. I help people understand each other. We came because you asked for help. There was a long pause. Then the alien voice said, You are not what we expected. Your voice is soft. But we have seen your war movies. We have seen your weapons. We know what your species does to enemies. You are not our enemies, Yuna said. You are innocent people who need help. That is different. Another long pause. Then, I am Kil Aneth. I was an ambassador for my people. Before the Devourers came, most of our leaders are dead now. I am speaking for the survivors. Kyle Aneth, we want to help you, Yuna said, but we need to understand what we are fighting. Can you tell us about the Devourers? They came from beyond our star charts, Kyle Aneth said. Her voice was full of sadness. Huge ships, bigger than our cities. They did not try to communicate. They just started eating. They broke apart our orbital stations and fed the metal to their ships. They took our people for food. Duyun felt his anger growing again, but he stayed quiet. This was Yuna's job now. How long ago did they attack your system? Yuna asked. 3 days ago. They spent 2 days consuming everything they could. Then they left. They said they were going to the Alteran system next. Yunji quickly checked the star charts. The Alteran system was only 1 day away at maximum speed. If they left now, they might be able to get there before the Devourers finished their attack. Kyle Aneth, Yuna said, we want to go to the Alteran system and try to stop the Devourers. But first, your people need help. Do you have a safe place to go? We have colony ships going to the outer systems, away from the main star routes. We hope to hide there until the Devourers move on to other parts of the galaxy. What if they do not move on? Yuna asked gently. What if they decide to hunt down all the survivors? Kyle Aneth was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was very small. Then we will all die. We do not know how to fight creatures like that. We do, Doyun said, stepping up to the communication station. Kyle Aneth, this is Captain Doyun. I command this fleet. We came here to fight the Devourers and protect innocent people. That includes you. But why would you help us? Kyle Aneth asked. We cannot pay you. We have nothing you would want. And we called you monsters. Doyun thought about how to answer that. Finally, he said, Kyle Aneth, on our world, the strong protect the weak. It is what good people do. We do not need payment. We just need to know that someone is in trouble. There was another long silence. Then Kyle Aneth said something that surprised everyone. Captain Doyun, I would like to see you. Not over communication. In person. I need to know what kind of creatures are offering to die for strangers. Doyun looked at Yun Ah, who nodded. We can arrange that, but I should warn you. We look different from your people. We might seem frightening. Everything is frightening now, Kyle Aneth said sadly. But if you are truly here to help, then I must be brave enough to meet you. An hour later, Doyun and Yuna took a small shuttle to the Villani refugee ship. When they docked, they were met by 2 Villani guards who were shaking with fear. The aliens looked like tall, thin crystals with multiple arms and eyes that changed color. They were beautiful, but also clearly terrified. Kyle Aneth was waiting in a small room. When she saw the humans, she made a sound like breaking glass, which Doyun later learned was how Villani screamed. She fell backward and did not move. She fainted, one of the guards said. You are larger than we expected, and your faces, you have forward-facing eyes, like predators. Yuna knelt down and helped Kyle Aneth sit up. When the Villani ambassador woke up, she stared at the humans for a long time. You are monsters, she whispered. But you came when we called for help. Why? Doyun sat down on the floor to make himself seem smaller and less threatening. Because it was the right thing to do, he said simply. Kyle Aneth looked into his eyes for a long moment. Then she said, I think I am beginning to understand. You are monsters who protect instead of destroy. Something like that, Doyun said with a small smile. And for the first time since the Devourers attacked, Kyle Aneth felt something she had not felt in days. She felt hope. The human fleet reached the Alteran system just as the Devourers were finishing their attack. The sight was even worse than what they had found at the Villani homeworld. Entire planets were being stripped apart, their surfaces eaten away by massive machines. Captain Doyun watched the main screen with growing anger. The Devourers had dozens of huge ships, each one the size of a human city. They moved slowly through space, consuming everything in their path like giant metal insects. Sir, said Tactical Officer Yunji, studying her instruments. I count 47 Devourer ships. They are much bigger than our ships, but they move very slowly. Their weapons seem designed for destroying planets, not fighting other ships. That makes sense, said Engineer Taemin. They have never had to fight anyone before. All their previous targets probably just ran away or hid. Communications Officer Han Sol looked up from his station. Captain, I am getting signals from the asteroid mining colony at Teth 9. There are survivors there, but the Devourers are moving toward them. Duyun made a quick decision. We are going to save those people. But we cannot fight 47 ships with just 12 dreadnoughts. We need to be smart about this. He turned to Yunji. What do you think? How do we fight an enemy that outnumbers us 4-1? Yunji smiled. It was the same kind of smile that wolves show when they are hunting. Sir, these creatures have been picking on defenseless prey for so long, they have forgotten how to deal with predators. I think it is time to show them the difference. Explain. Look at how they are positioned, Yunji said, pointing to the tactical display. They are spread out across the system, each ship working alone to consume different targets. They are not protecting each other. They have no formation, no tactics. They are just eating everything they can reach. Duyun nodded. So we hit them one at a time. Exactly. And we use the asteroid field as cover. Their ships are big and slow. Our ships are smaller and faster. In an asteroid field, that is a huge advantage. What about their weapons? Asked. Marine Commander Wu Jin, who had joined them on the bridge. Taemin answered. I have been studying the wreckage from the Villani system. Their weapons are powerful, but they are designed for destroying buildings and breaking apart planets. Against a moving target, especially a small, fast target, they will have trouble hitting anything. It is like using a sledgehammer to swat flies, Yunji added. Duyun felt a familiar feeling growing in his chest. It was the feeling human warriors had felt for thousands of years before a battle. Fear mixed with excitement. The knowledge that they were about to do something dangerous but necessary. All right, he said. Here is what we are going to do. We split the fleet into 4 groups. Each group will target isolated Devourer ships. We hit fast, hit hard, and get out before they can organize a response. He opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. This is Captain Do-Yun to all ships. We are going into battle against an enemy that has terrorized peaceful civilizations for who knows how long. Today, they meet warriors from Earth. Today, they learn what happens when bullies pick on someone who fights back. The response from the fleet was immediate. Every ship captain reported ready for battle. Every crew member was at their station. The humans were ready to do what humans do best: fight for people who cannot fight for themselves. The first attack began at the mining colony of Teth 9. Strike Team Alpha, led by Commander Min Su, approached through the asteroid field. His team consisted of 6 destroyers and 12 fighter squadrons. The Devourer ship at Teth 9 was enormous. It was slowly eating the mining equipment and structures, turning metal and stone into fuel for its own systems. It had been doing this for hours, and its crew probably thought they were completely safe. They were wrong. Minsu led his fighters between the asteroids, using the rocky debris as cover. The Devourer ship was too big to move quickly, and its weapons were designed for large targets. The human fighters were small and fast, darting between the space rocks like deadly insects. Target their engines first, Minsu ordered. If we can slow them down even more, they become sitting ducks. The fighters attacked in perfect formation. Each pilot knew exactly what to do. They had trained for this kind of battle their whole lives. Human pilots learned to fly by fighting against the best computer opponents Earth could create. Now they were using those skills against real enemies. Fighter pilot Jae-hyuk dove his ship toward the Devourer's engine section. The alien ship tried to hit him with a massive energy beam, but the weapon was too slow. Jae-hyuk fired his missiles and pulled away, watching as explosions bloomed across the Devourer's hull. "Direct hit," he reported. "Their engine output is dropping." All across the Devourer ship, human weapons found their targets. The aliens had thick armor, but it was designed to protect against the simple weapons of peaceful species. Human military technology was built by people who had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Within 15 minutes, the Devourer ship was crippled. Its engines were destroyed, its weapons were offline, and its crew was probably wondering what had just happened to them. "Strike Team Alpha to command," Min Su reported. "Target eliminated. No human casualties. We are moving to assist the mining colony survivors. Similar reports came in from the other strike teams. Strike Team Beta, led by Commander So Young, destroyed 2 Devourer ships that were consuming a gas giant's moons. Strike Team Gamma crippled 3 ships near the system's outer planets, but it was Strike Team Delta that made the biggest impression on the enemy. Commander Ho-Jin led Delta Team against the largest Devourer ship in the system. This one was different from the others. It was clearly a command ship, covered with communication arrays and sensor equipment. Destroying it would hurt the enemy's ability to coordinate their forces. But as Delta Team approached, something went wrong. The command ship was not alone. 5 other Devourer ships had moved to protect it. Ho-Jin's team was outnumbered and outgunned. "Command, this is Delta Team," Ho-Jin reported. "We have a problem. The enemy has figured out our tactics and set a trap." "Pull back," Do-Yun ordered immediately. "Do not engage. We will find another way." But Ho-Jin was looking at his tactical display, and he saw something that made him change his mind. The 5 Devourer ships protecting the command vessel were positioned perfectly. If his ship could get between them and the command ship, he could ram the command vessel and probably destroy it. But his ship would be destroyed too. "Negative, Command," Ho-Jin said calmly. "I have a clear shot at the command ship. Tell my wife." "I love her." "Ho-Jin, no!" Do-Yun shouted. "That is an order." But Ho-Jin had already cut his communication and turned his ship toward the enemy command vessel. His crew, understanding what he planned to do, did not protest. They were volunteers. They had signed up knowing they might die to protect innocent people. Ho-Jin's destroyer accelerated to maximum speed. The Devourer ships tried to stop him, but they were too slow and too late. His ship smashed into the command vessel like a bullet, hitting glass. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from across the system. For a moment, space was quiet. Then the remaining Devourer ships started acting strangely. Without their command ship, they seemed confused. They stopped their coordinated movement and began wandering aimlessly. "Sir?" Yunji said quietly. "I think Commander Ho-Jin just broke their command structure. The remaining ships do not seem to know what to do." Do-Yun felt sadness and pride at the same time. Ho-Jin had been a good friend and a brave officer. His sacrifice had probably saved thousands of lives. This was what humans did. They died for strangers, for principles, for the future. "All ships," Do-Yun announced to the fleet. "Commander Ho-Jin and the crew of the destroyer Seoul have given their lives to protect innocent people. We will remember them, and we will make sure their sacrifice means something." The battle continued for 6 more hours. One by one, the confused Devourer ships were destroyed or disabled. The humans used every trick they had learned in thousands of years of warfare. They used asteroids as weapons, ramming them into enemy ships. They used the system's gravity to slingshot their ships to incredible speeds. They coordinated attacks with perfect timing, hitting the enemy from multiple directions at once. By the end of the battle, 46 Devourer ships were destroyed. Only one escaped, fleeing toward deep space with its hull cracked and its engines smoking. The asteroid mining colony was saved. 3,000 Altaran miners were rescued from certain death. And across the galaxy, other civilizations heard the news that someone had finally fought the Devourers and won. But the most important result was something else entirely. The Devourer ship that escaped would return to its leaders with a terrifying message. The galaxy was no longer defenseless. The monsters from the death world called Earth had joined the fight, and they were very, very good at fighting. As the human fleet regrouped and began rescue operations, Captain Do-Yun received a message from the Altaran Colonial Defense Force. The Altarans were known throughout the galaxy as proud warriors, the closest thing to humans that other species had seen. "Human Captain," the Altaran commander Vextar said, "We have watched your battle. We are impressed. We request permission to fight alongside your people against these Devourers." The Devourer. Queen Mind was not happy. For the first time in 1,000 years of expansion, her forces had been defeated. Not just defeated, destroyed. 46 of her ships reduced to space debris by creatures she had never taken seriously. The single surviving ship from the Altaran battle had brought disturbing news. The Deathworlders of Sol 3 were not just dangerous. They were tactical geniuses. They fought with coordination and creativity that the hive-minded devourers could not understand. Worse, other species were starting to join them. From her massive throne ship deep in the galaxy's outer regions, the Queen Mind made a decision that would change everything. She would send the Grand Fleet, every remaining ship under her command, to destroy these troublesome humans once and for all. No more small attacks. No more underestimating the enemy. Total war. 3 months after the victory at Alteron, Admiral Haya Jin stood in the command center on Earth, looking at intelligence reports that made her stomach turn. The Grand Fleet was coming, and it was bigger than anyone had imagined. "How many ships?" she asked Intelligence Officer Park Jun. "At least 300, ma'am. Maybe more. They are coming from 6 different directions, all converging on the Nexus system. The Nexus system was home to 6 different alien species who had allied with humanity after hearing about the victories against the Devourers. Billions of innocent people lived there. If the Grand Fleet reached Nexus, it would be the greatest massacre in galactic history." "What about our fleet?" Admiral Hyajin asked. "We have rebuilt our losses from Alteran, ma'am. 68 combat ships total plus support vessels. The entire Alteran Defense Force has joined us. That is another 40 ships. The Villani have built some armed vessels, but they are not very powerful." Admiral Hyajin did the math in her head. Even with their allies, the humans were outnumbered almost 3 to 1. In any normal battle, those odds would mean certain defeat. But humans had never fought normal battles. "Get me Captain Do-Yun," she ordered. Do-Yun's face appeared on the communication screen. He was aboard his flagship in the Nexus system, preparing defenses. Behind him, Admiral Hyajin could see crew members working frantically at their stations. "Captain, report on your situation," she said. "Ma'am, we have evacuated as many civilians as possible to the outer system. The remaining population is in underground shelters. Our ships are positioned throughout the system, ready for mobile defense. Do-Yun, I am not going to lie to you. The Grand Fleet outnumbers us badly. This is going to be the hardest fight humanity has ever faced." Do-Yun nodded. "We know, ma'am, but we also know what we are fighting for. Every person in this fleet volunteered to be here. We are ready." "What is your battle plan?" "We are not going to fight a defensive battle," Do-Yun said. "The Devourers expect us to wait for them to attack. Instead, we are going to hit them while they are still forming up. Attack them before they are ready." Admiral Hyajin raised an eyebrow. "That is very risky, Captain." "Yes, ma'am, but it is also very human." 2 days later, the Grand Fleet arrived, at the edge of the Nexus system. The Devourer ships were enormous and terrible, blotting out the stars with their dark hulls. They moved in perfect formation, a wall of destruction advancing on the inhabited worlds. The Queen Mind was aboard her flagship, a vessel the size of a small moon. She expected the humans to hide behind the planets, forcing her to hunt them down one by one. She expected fear. She expected desperation. She got neither. Instead, the human fleet came screaming out of the inner system at maximum speed, their engines blazing like miniature suns. They were not running away. They were charging straight at the Grand Fleet. "Impossible," the Queen Mind hissed. "They are outnumbered 3 to 1. This must be some kind of trick." But it was not a trick. It was something the Queen Mind could never understand. The human concept of courage. The willingness to charge into hopeless odds because the alternative was letting innocent people die. Captain Do-Yun led the charge from the front. His flagship, Incheon, racing toward the center of the Grand Fleet. Behind him came every human ship, every Alteran vessel, and even the small Villani cruisers that had been built in desperation over the past 3 months. "All ships, this is Captain Do-Yun," he broadcast. "Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every innocent species in the galaxy. Today we show the universe that bullies can be stopped. Attack!" The first collision came when Marine Commander Wu Jin led his boarding parties against a Devourer command ship. Human Marines in powered armor smashed through the alien hull like bullets through paper. The Devourers had never faced an enemy that would actually board their ships and fight hand-to-hand. Specialist Bo-Ram was the first human to set foot inside, a Devourer ship. What she found there horrified her, vast chambers filled with the remains of consumed civilizations, processed into food for the alien crew. But her horror turned to rage, and her rage made her deadly. "This is for every innocent person you murdered," she said as she and her team fought their way through the ship's corridors. The Devourers were large and strong, but they had never developed individual fighting skills. The hive mind controlled everything, and it did not know how to fight warriors who thought for themselves. In space, pilot Dae Jung was living every fighter pilot's dream and nightmare. His squadron was outnumbered 20-1, but they were flying like demons. Human pilots had trained their entire lives for moments like this, where skill and courage mattered more than numbers. Dae Jung's fighter had been hit 3 times. His left engine was failing, and his life support was running low. But he had a clear shot at one of the Grand Fleet's command vessels, and he was not going to waste it. "Command, this is Dae Jung," he reported. "My ship is damaged, but I can take out their coordination ship. Tell my family I died protecting others." "Dae Jung, pull back," Do-Yun ordered. "We need every pilot we have." But Dae Jung had already made his decision. His crippled fighter accelerated toward the Devourer command ship, dodging defensive fire through pure skill and determination. At the last second, he armed every weapon on his ship and crashed into the alien vessel's bridge. The explosion was small compared to the size of the Grand Fleet, but its effects were enormous. Without their coordination ship, the Devourer vessels began making mistakes. Ships that had moved in perfect harmony started getting in each other's way. Admiral Hyojin watched the battle from Earth, her heart breaking every time a human ship was destroyed. But she also watched with pride as her people showed the galaxy what courage looked like. The battle raged for 18 hours. Human ships darted between the massive Devourer vessels like angry wasps attacking giants. They used every trick they knew: ramming attacks, coordinated missile strikes, even using the system's asteroids as weapons. Slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. The Queen Mind could not believe what she was seeing. Her Grand Fleet was losing to a force 1/3 its size. These humans fought with a ferocity and creativity that her hive mind could not match. Every time she adapted to one of their tactics, they invented 3 new ones. "Retreat," she finally ordered her remaining ships. "Fall back to deep space." But, as her flagship turned to flee, Captain Do-Yun made one final, desperate play. His ship Incheon was badly damaged, its weapons mostly offline. But it still had engines, and Do-Yun had an idea. "All remaining ships, this is Do-Yun," he broadcast. "Form up on me. We are going to ram the Queen ship." "Sir, that is suicide," his tactical officer Yun-ji protested. "Maybe," Do-Yun said with a grim smile. "But if we can destroy their leader, the rest will scatter. Sometimes, you have to sacrifice the night to win the game." Yun-ji looked around the bridge at her fellow crew members. They were all volunteers. They had all known this day might come. Slowly, she nodded. "All right, Captain. Let us show them how humans say goodbye." 12 human ships, all heavily damaged, turned toward the Queen ship. They accelerated to ramming speed, their crews singing an old Earth song about going down with the ship. The Queen Mind watched them coming and felt something she had never experienced before: fear. These creatures were willing to die to stop her. They were choosing death over defeat. At the last second, she ordered her ship to jump to faster-than-light speed. The Queen ship vanished just before the human vessels reached it. Do-Yun's ship flew through empty space where the Queen ship had been. He had failed to destroy the enemy leader, but he had accomplished something more important. For the first time in their history, the Devourers had retreated from a battle they could have won. The Grand Fleet scattered in 12 different directions, fleeing back to the dark spaces between stars. The battle was over. Humanity had won. But the cost had been terrible. Of the 68 human ships that started the battle, only 23 survived. Thousands of brave men and women had given their lives to protect people they had never met. As Do-Yun counted his losses, he received a message from Admiral Hyojin on Earth. "Captain, you did the impossible today. The entire galaxy is watching. Every species knows that the Devourers can be defeated." "At what cost?" Do-Yun asked tiredly. "The cost of freedom," Admiral Hyojin replied. "The cost of proving that bullies can be stopped. The cost of showing the universe that some things are worth fighting for, even if it means we die." Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. 6 months after the great battle at Nexus, the galaxy looked very different. The scattered remains of the Devourer Grand Fleet hid in the dark spaces between stars, afraid to attack any system that might have human protectors. For the first time in 1,000 years, peaceful species could sleep without fear. Admiral Hyejin stood on the observation deck of the new Luna Defense Academy, looking out at Earth's moon. Below her, the Academy was busy with activity. Alien students from dozens of species were learning human military tactics, while human instructors taught the art of warfare to beings who had never known conflict. It was strange to watch. Vellani. Crystalline beings practiced hand-to-hand combat with Alteran warriors. Soft-bodied Aquans learned to pilot fighter craft alongside humans who had been born to fly. The galaxy's peaceful species were learning to become warriors, and their teachers were the monsters they had once feared. Captain Do-Yun walked up beside her, carrying a cup of coffee and looking tired but satisfied. He had been promoted to Academy Commander after the battle at Nexus, and his days were filled with training the next generation of Galactic Defenders. "How are the new students doing?" Admiral Hyejin asked. "Better than expected," Do-Yun replied. "The Vellani are natural tacticians once they get over their fear of violence. The Altarans were already warriors. We just had to teach them human-style coordination. Even the Aquans are showing promise in zero-gravity combat." "Any problems?" Do-Yun smiled. "Just cultural ones. Yesterday, a Vellani student asked me why humans are willing to die for people they have never met. I had to explain that it is just what we do." "What did you tell them?" "I said that on Earth, we learned a long time ago that the strong protect the weak, not because we get something in return, but because it is the right thing to do. I think they are starting to understand." Admiral Hyejin nodded. The Academy was more than just a military school. It was a place where different species learned to work together. The galaxy had been divided for so long, with each species keeping to itself. But the Devourer War had changed that. Now, former enemies were becoming allies. "Admiral," came a voice behind them. They turned to see Communications Officer Hansol approaching with a tablet in his hands. "We just received the graduation reports from the first class." "How did they do?" Do-Yun asked. 93% pass rate, Hansol said with pride. "The highest score went to a Vellani named Kel Rian. She designed a battle plan that impressed even our tactical instructors." Admiral Hyejin was not surprised. The peaceful species of the galaxy were not stupid. They had just never needed to think about warfare before. Given proper training and human tactical knowledge, they were becoming formidable defenders. "What about the psychological evaluations?" she asked. "That was always the hardest part. Teaching peaceful beings to fight without making them into monsters." "All clear," Hansol reported. "The psychologists say the alien students understand the difference between being a warrior and being a killer. They fight to protect, not to conquer." That was the key difference, Admiral Hyejin knew. The Devourers fought to consume and destroy. Humans fought to protect and preserve. It was a lesson the galaxy was slowly learning. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Hansol checked his tablet and looked up with excitement. "Ma'am, it is from the Terran Reconstruction Corps. Engineer Taemin wants to report on the rebuilding projects." The main screen activated, showing Taemin standing in what looked like a construction site. Behind him, humans and aliens worked together to rebuild a Vellani city that had been destroyed in the war. "Admiral Captain," Taemin said with a smile, "I wanted to show you what we have accomplished here." The camera panned across the construction site. Where once there had been ruins, now there were new buildings rising toward the sky. But these were not just human designs. They incorporated Vellani crystal-growing techniques, Alteran stoneworking, and architectural ideas from a dozen different species. "The locals are calling it Unity City," Taemin continued. "It is the first interspecies city ever built. Humans, Vellani, Alterans, and others all living and working together." "How are they getting along?" Do-Yun asked. "Better than anyone expected." "Turns out that when you save someone's life, they stop thinking of you as a monster. The Vellani children especially love the human construction workers. They follow them around asking questions about Earth." Admiral Hyejin felt a warm feeling in her chest. This was what they had fought for. Not just victory over the Devourers, but a chance for the galaxy to come together in peace. Any word from the deep space patrols? She asked. Taemin's expression became more serious. Some scattered devourer. Groups are still out there, but they are avoiding any system with human defenders. Most of our patrol ships report that the enemy flees as soon as they detect human signatures. Good. What about recruitment for the Defense Corps? We have more volunteers than we can handle, Taemin said proudly. Not just from Earth, but from every allied species. Everyone wants to be part of the force that protects the innocent. After ending the call, Admiral Hyojin and Do-Yun walked through the academy halls. They passed training rooms where students practiced everything from space combat to diplomatic negotiation. The academy was not just teaching warfare, it was teaching leadership, cooperation, and the values that made the difference between protectors and conquerors. In one classroom, xenobiologist Kite was teaching a mixed group of students about different species' psychology and culture. Understanding the enemy was important, but understanding allies was even more crucial. The key to successful cooperation, Kite was saying, is remembering that different does not mean wrong. Humans are direct and aggressive. Villani are indirect and thoughtful. Alterans are proud and honorable. Each approach has value in different situations. A Villani student raised her crystal hand. Professor Kite, why do humans seem to enjoy fighting so much? My people find violence disturbing. Kite smiled gently. We do not enjoy violence itself. We enjoy overcoming challenges and protecting others. For humans, fighting is often about love. Love for family, friends, and innocent people who need protection. Admiral Hyojin and Do-Yun continued their walk, eventually reaching the Academy's memorial wall. Hundreds of names were carved into the black stone, every human who had died fighting the Devourers. At the top, in golden letters, were the names of Commander Ho-Jin and pilot Dae-Jung. Do you think they would be proud of what we built? Do-Yun asked quietly. I think they would be amazed, Admiral Hyojin replied. They died fighting monsters, but they helped create a galaxy where former enemies worked together as friends. Young voice interrupted their thoughts. Excuse me, Admiral? They turned to see a Villani student approaching. Her crystal body was colored with the nervous patterns that indicated she was excited but scared. Yes? Admiral Hyojin said kindly. My name is Sil Aneth. I am Keel Aneth's daughter, the ambassador who first contacted your fleet. Admiral Hyojin remembered the terrified Villani diplomat who had fainted when she first saw humans. How is your mother? She is well, thank you. She asked me to give you this message. The young Villani held out a crystal tablet. She said to tell you that fear can become friendship if both sides are willing to try. Admiral Hyojin accepted the tablet and read the message. It was a formal request from the Villani government to establish a permanent human military base in their system, staffed jointly by human and Villani personnel. Your people want human soldiers in your system? Do-Yun asked, surprised. Not as conquerors, Silaneth said quickly. As protectors, as friends. We have learned that monsters who protect are not monsters at all. They are heroes. Later that evening, Admiral Hyojin was in her office when an urgent message came in from the deep space monitoring stations. The signal was weak and distant, coming from beyond the galactic rim. Admiral, the message said, this is Deep Space Station Omega. We are detecting massive energy signatures moving toward the galaxy from intergalactic space. Unknown ships. Possibly hostile. Estimated arrival in 6 months. Admiral Hyojin felt her blood run cold. Just when the galaxy was finally at peace, a new threat was emerging. She immediately contacted Captain Do-Yun and the other senior officers. It looks like our work is not finished, she told them. Something new is coming, and we need to be ready. Do-Yun nodded grimly. Should we recall the fleets from their patrol duties? Not yet. First, we gather intelligence. We learn what we are dealing with, then we decide how to respond. What if it is worse than the Devourers? Asked Communications Officer Han Sol. Admiral Hyojin looked around at her staff, humans who had proven themselves in the crucible of war, and alien allies who had learned to fight for peace. She thought about the academy full of students learning, to protect the innocent and the reconstruction projects bringing former enemies together. Then we will do what we always do, she said firmly. We will stand between the darkness and the light. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves, and we will remind the universe that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Outside her window, Earth turned slowly in space, blue and beautiful and peaceful. But Admiral Hye-jin knew that peace was not the absence of war. It was the presence of people willing to fight for it.